Well, he's had a lot on his plate, hasn't he? And it comes after the Duke of Sussex, his brother, has extended an olive branch. He did that during an interview on Good Morning America. Let's have a look. Stopping to see his family as much as he can, or is allowed to, perhaps.
If invited. Is it time for Prince William to forgive and forget and to make amends with his estranged brother? Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams thinks there's no need for William to show any forgiveness, while broadcaster and relationship coach Fahima Mohammed believes that now is the time to reconcile. They should be making up.
Absolutely. I don't know, and I can't understand how anyone can actually encourage cutting family ties. And even though you might see them as not the ordinary family, but they do represent, they do have to preserve unity for the country, for themselves, even for the Institute. And at the end of the day, I think if he's actually, Prince Harry has actually, you know, reached out with an olive branch, that is an open door for it to actually be some sort of reconciliation. And it's healthy.
Richard, do you think, even though it's Prince Harry offering the olive branch, that what he wrote in Spare and what he said in the Netflix documentary and the Oprah Winfrey interview...
Yes, absolutely.
...means that he's gone too far?
Very, very sadly, I fear so, and I say this because, obviously, as we all know, it's a very, very difficult time as millions in the country are last with this pernicious disease, with the King having cancer, with Catherine unwell. All of this is a pressurised time for the royal family, but at that time, what William is thinking of in the way he is behaving, and I say this with great sadness, as I'm sure, that is what he is thinking. He's thinking of 4 years of betrayal, blindsiding the Queen in 2020 originally, then subsequently cooperating, we know Meghan did, in finding freedom. Then we had Oprah, which had done such damage to the monarchy. Then we had a 6-hour docuseries on Netflix, and subsequently Spare, and personal attacks on Catherine, doesn't fit the mould, is the most recent, and, of course, on his stepmother, Queen Camilla. That meant that the King, the most tolerant of souls, had them thrown out of Frogmore Cottage. There simply isn't, very, very sadly, when you are in crisis, you must cohere. You can't.
But when you're in crisis, I feel this is the moment.
People you don't trust, and trust is the essence of the
I understand family feuds, they make mistakes, but this is even more important. While they have already lost their mum, they've grown up together, regardless of whatever the relationship was, that now is the time for reconciliation, because families need to stick together at this time and build that trust. And if there is a chance to do that, it's more time now needed, especially with King Charles at his situation. And he, as a parent, would want two of his children to have that.
It is absolutely impossible to do it.
There's no such thing as impossible.
Who will tell the media or tell Omid Scobie precisely what you've said. You'd be letting the media into the palace if you let Harry... No, if you let Harry go back to royal duties. And so far as William is concerned, he has seen 4 years, as I say,
of betrayal. It doesn't matter. Time always can be a healer as well. Even if people make mistakes, even if people go and betray and do certain things, they have stages in their lives. We should not cut them out and just completely forget the fact that happens.
Then why does Meghan not reconcile with her family?
Meghan. It's about the actual siblings.
I know, but Fahima, this is it's an interesting point that's been made, because Prince Harry very clearly said illness can mean that you reunify as a family. But then people, as Richard suggests, you look at Meghan's father, who had a heart attack and was very, very poorly, but they didn't reconcile with him. So there are points at which they feel that things are not forgivable. So, in fact, what Prince Harry might be expecting forgiveness from his family in a way that they haven't actually forgiven Meghan's father.
You can't really correlate the two. In fact, he needs to stand up to be the bigger person. He's going to be there running and playing the role for the entire UK very soon, probably sooner. And that should be a role model for other families. You know, the unit is the most important thing.
Hang on,
the unit. Really important.
OK, Richard, hold that point. Just let Fahima finish making her point.
The family unit builds success. It builds hope even in other families' homes. So they need to set out that kind of role model model and status within the monarchy so that we can learn from it, because that's real power.
Okay,
that's
Richard,
real
Because
success.
the important point here, as I see it, is absolutely pivotal. It isn't just the 4 years of betrayal that have led William to, apparently the brothers haven't spoken in months. It's most particularly as well, he's safeguarding not only his family in this cohesion at this time, but the monarchy. And he knows very well that the Sussexes are absolutely ruthless. They're entitled when it comes to publicity and links to the media.
So you think Harry's been advised by his media people that it's in his media interest to go and say these things? It's actually it's another manipulation.
Well, and in fact, if you look at
that's speculation.
No, but does he take advice? The answer is no one, right, putting spare where you'd have penile frostbite, the drugs, the virginity, the numbers of Taliban he took out. He isn't taking advice. Who do they take advice from? They're so entitled. I mean, Meghan even said that she'd been told that their wedding was compared in South Africa to Nelson Mandela being released. If you think of something so paralytically imbecilic, it's almost unbelievable. You simply
holding on
can't
to that
trust them.
resentment and having that sort of misery and bitterness is really not going to help them move forward either. You know, it's so much better for their human psychology, if they were really being advised, to actually learn to forgive and move on regardless. There's no such thing within parents or siblings that should be cut. We are changing in society where we do not hold that unit, and I think it's really important.
Sorry, Richard, Fahima, you are a relationship coach.
Yes.
So presumably you see people...
I build homes.
Yes, where you see that there has been a catastrophic breakdown of trust. What do you say to somebody when they're trying to reconcile with somebody else, but they simply do not trust that they're not going to do it again? Because how can you promise that that person won't do it again?
Because that's how most people live, in anxiety and depression, because they're thinking about the past or the future instead of being, present, being mindful. And actually, when you think about the psychological effects of what forgiveness does to the human behaviour, there is so much. I have two sons.
What about the psychological
I would hate for them to have those sort of fights.
Richard, hang on.
It would tear me down. And I'm a single mum. It's only the three of us. If they were to ever have those sort of disagreements, they have to overcome it so that they can build through adversity. That is power. That is strength.
The problem is, Richard, that you have to say, I mean, we are putting this on William, and William saying, rebuffing Harry. This is not just about William, is it? This is actually about the king, the queen, the palace. I mean, Harry's burnt quite a lot of boats at the moment.
And honouring their mother.
The question of the entire institution, the Sussexes have done their best to pull it down for 4 years, and Oprah has done damage. Young people, very often 18 to 24-year-olds, they are not in favour of the monarchy, as so many of them used to be. One of the reasons is that Harry and Meghan were considered once, it's all a disaster, this, the face of the royal family for the future, as well as William and Catherine. What they've shown at every single step is they'll exploit publicity.
Fahima, what would you advise Harry to do?
And
I would ask him to continuously reach out and extend that olive branch. They all have their own...
With what?
No, but they have their own families, right?
How can he prove it?
It takes time. Of course it will.
Well,
but it can be done. They've got their own families. They would have to break that generational cycle of that unhealed wounds and actually teach
Doesn't he have to apologise?
Whatever it takes. And it's worth it.
Oprah, Prince Philip was dying and they still went ahead with it.
We can't hold on with resentment. It only is like holding coal in your own hands, thinking that it's going to hurt somebody else.
Actually died. Now, that is the level that they are trying to project themselves at because they want publicity.
This is what it'll be like.
Yes, I know.
Internal family arguments.
I think
we are living out here.
To be the relationship coach in the room, if they need it.
Absolutely, and it doesn't matter if your polls are even 99% saying no. I'm going to say that the 1%, that's me, is still the most powerful mindset to build families,
with you at
not break them, and not encourage cutting family ties.
I was hoping to bring it to a quiet clip, but obviously feeling strong on both sides.